Welcome to the Bougie Body Podcast with your host, Kellie Rhymes.
Hi, welcome back to the Bougie Body Podcast. My name is Kellie, if you don't know who I am, and I am a women's hair loss support and authenticity coach. Today, we are going to talk about something a little bit different. I'm actually going to give you a recap of the conference I went to for the Scarring Alopecia Foundation. So last month, I went and I was speaking actually at the Blazing Trails Conference, which is the conference for the Scarring Alopecia Foundation. And while I was there, I learned a lot. Okay. So I'm going to just give you a few key things that I've learned. Now, there was a lot of information provided. There were a lot of doctors. There were a lot of, the doctors that were there were dermatologists that specialized in hair loss, which is very important. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. But there were some medical students, researchers, as well as patients. So it was a really good conference, really informative. We had some fun together, and the patients and ladies that were there that have scarring alopecia were able to really just relax and have some fun with people who are going through the same thing they're going through. So I think that was a major benefit. But on top of that, hey, I had a great speaking gig, and I got a lot of compliments. I got a lot of good feedback as far as how it helped some of the patients. So I was happy about that because that was my purpose, to go be relatable and make sure I uplift my fellow people with scarring alopecia. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. And I'm just going to randomly really go over some things that really stood out to me. Now, remember, I'm not going over everything that I learned or that they talked about because it was a lot of information, but some things that I think would be beneficial to a person who has scarring alopecia. I think the things that I'm about to talk about are very important. Okay. Even if you don't have scarring alopecia, I think some of this will be important if you have hair loss in general, because there are some good tips that I have available. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to jump into it. I have a list here, so you will see me looking down because I don't want to forget any of the points that I wanted to mention. Okay. The first one is dermatologists really don't know the cause of scarring alopecia. Yeah, that was a shocker to me. Now, they do have an idea of what could cause scarring alopecia, but they really cannot tell you what caused your scarring alopecia. So if you are a person who has scarring alopecia and you go to your dermatologist and you're expecting them to let you know or tell you how you got this or how this came about, yeah, they're not going to be able to do it. No, they have no clue. This is something that occurs. It could be a lot of different factors. It could be genetics. It could be products you've used. It could be just tension on your hair. It could be stress. It could be a lot of different things. Those are just some of the things. So wanted to make sure you guys were aware. You cannot really go to your dermatologist and expect them to tell you why you have scarring alopecia. All right, so the next one is that dermatologists will try different treatment plans. They don't know what will work. So this is where you have to have patience. If you go into your dermatologist's office and they suggest one treatment plan, they may suggest you to take a medication or, do different things. Just understand that they are doing or asking you to do things that have worked for other people. So they're trying it out on you to see if it will work for you. Now, if that treatment does not work for you, then they're going to switch to something different. This is a journey. It is a journey where you have to have patience, and it is not going to be easy because, yeah, you have hair loss and you want your hair to grow back like tomorrow, just like that, right? But that's not necessarily realistic. Basically, even with the treatment plan, they want you to be on it for 3 to 6 months before making the determination of whether or not it's actually working for you. And a lot of times, and this is something else I learned, a lot of times these treatments are working. It's just that they're not working maybe as fast as you want it to work, or your hair growth is not as thick as it used to be. Now you may have some hair growth coming back, but the hair may be thinner and it may not seem like you're making much progress, but you actually are. And a lot of times your hair is not going to be as thick as it once was before your hair loss in that spot or in that area where you're experiencing the hair loss. So also keep that in mind. You do have to have patience. You do have to expect to try different treatment plans until they find what works for you. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is early detection. Yes, I know we hear about this when we hear or talk about cancer, making sure you go get your screenings and, early detection is important. I think that's with all health related issues. But in this situation with hair loss, when you first start noticing hair loss, 100% of the time you've already had hair loss for a period of time and just didn't notice it until that moment. You have had hair loss for who knows how long, but until you start seeing that bald spot or that thinning spot where you can actually see your scalp, that's when you notice it. So when you do notice that, immediately go to a dermatologist and have them do a biopsy, thoroughly check you out and find out what's going on and what is causing your hair loss. Now, it may be something internal. It may be something with your nutrition. It could be anything, stress, like I talked about before, but it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a medical hair loss condition, but you need to find out. And the sooner you find out, the better. Now, in the case of scarring alopecia, the sooner you find out, the better you're able to save your hair. Now, with scarring alopecia, if you guys don't know, that's when your hair follicle pretty much dies. And if you let it get too far, there becomes a scar basically over your scalp. So it's a scarring of tissue that happens in your scalp. So that means your hair will not grow back because those hair follicles are totally gone. But if you catch it early enough, they can potentially save the rest of your hair and prevent more from coming out. They can also potentially help regrow that hair in the area where you're missing because it may be at a stage where you don't have any scarring. So, just to put this in perspective, if you have any type of scarring alopecia, if you catch it early enough, there is not a scar over your hair follicles, meaning you still have a follicle there. It can still produce hair and regrow hair if you do certain things and follow a treatment plan. Now, if you let it go and ignore it or don't do what your doctor tells you to do, ignore the treatment plan, your hair will continue to come out. It will form scarring tissue, and then that is permanent hair loss. So understand, leaving it alone, not doing anything, ignoring it, not following the treatment plan equals permanent hair loss. So that is the importance of early detection, going to start treatments early as possible so that you could potentially save your hair. Now, another thing, and this is kind of switching a little bit from just like the hair loss tips. This is more around the medical industry in general. I did not know that they did not have a actual medical code for scarring alopecia. Now they have a medical code for other types of alopecia like alopecia areata, but not scarring alopecia. So that means that patients who were going to dermatologists and they actually have scarring alopecia were not being categorized correctly. So in the medical system, there isn't much data on scarring alopecia because it's just not being recorded. It's all going to other forms of hair loss, which is not good because that means there isn't any research or there isn't much research happening, not as much as there should be to find solutions, to find prescriptions or medications that could help, to find natural solutions that can help. Like there isn't a lot of research being done because it doesn't show the numbers to say that research needs to be done. Now, if anybody knows about research and funding and different things like that, there has to show something that there's a need for this research. And if there's a need for the research, then there's a need for funding. So once that need for funding comes, then that means they can develop these different solutions to help, right? That is the importance of these codes. So the students who actually volunteer, they're medical students that volunteer for the Scarring Alopecia Foundation, actually worked on a project and they went to Congress and they were able to get a new, what they call the ICD code. So they were able to get a new ICD code specifically for scarring alopecia. So now when you go to your dermatologist, they can actually put that code in as far as a diagnosis for you. And now the numbers are going to show up as far as how many people out there have scarring alopecia. I believe there's a lot, because you have to also think about people who have hair loss may have more than one form of hair loss. Like some people may have alopecia areata and scarring alopecia, or even under scarring alopecia, there's different forms of alopecia like FFA, CCCA, those are different types of scarring alopecia, and those are acronyms, by the way. So people can have more than one type of hair loss, within themselves as far as treatment is concerned. So one treatment might work for alopecia areata, but another treatment or something else may work for the scarring alopecia part, and they have to do maybe both. That's where the research is important, and that's where it comes in. And the medical students have been able to get this approved, have a new code for scarring alopecia so that we can be categorized correctly. And so more research can be done on this medical condition. All right, now on the side of research, I talked about JAK inhibitors in a previous video and gave you kind of a general overview of what that was. People are using JAK inhibitors, but a lot of dermatologists are still exploring it, trying new things out with JAK inhibitors. So that it is still in the exploratory phase for a lot of dermatologists as far as who it works for, who it doesn't work for, when they should use it, when they should not use it. So understand that as well. Dermatologists don't know everything. They are also experimenting as well to see what works, as I mentioned earlier. Now, another one that I talked about, I believe probably in another episode, but they talked about metformin and how they have been using, and I'm talking about the dermatologists when I say they, dermatologists have been using metformin in low dosages to help with regrowth of hair for scarring alopecia. Again, this is for people who have detected it pretty early, don't really have severe hair loss, so it is helping some of those people. But one thing that stood out is that when you take metformin internally, it shows better results than when you use the topical. But what some dermatologists also like to do is they'll have you take it internally and do a topical as well. They do both to kind of give you the best of both worlds to see if those two things help benefit you the most. Not every dermatologist will do that. Every dermatologist will do things their own way. So that's another thing you got to point out. There isn't a standard protocol or a way they will come up with a treatment plan for you. Different dermatologists have different beliefs. They see different things in their offices. So one dermatologist may just say, hey, only take the internal form of metformin, while another one may say take both, while another one may say just take the topical. It just depends. And they also may say take those things and also do red light therapy or some other type of treatment to help you out and regrow your hair. So again, this is one of those things where it leads you back to there isn't a straightforward answer or solution. Patience is necessary in this process. Okay, so switching over to talking about the diagnosis of scarring alopecia. Another study was done just looking at the time frame of when certain people receive a diagnosis for their forms of scarring alopecia. And they basically found that people who have FFA, they are diagnosed sooner than the other population of scarring alopecia patients who may have CCCA. So typically, from what I understand from the research, a person who has FFA will probably, or it seems like they're diagnosed maybe within 2 years, while a person who has CCCA may not get an accurate diagnosis for maybe 3 to 4 years. So they were really looking into why it was taking so long to get these diagnoses and why there's a difference between the two forms of scarring alopecia as far as the time frame of getting the diagnosis. This is important because it goes back to the longer you wait, and to get the accurate treatment that you need, yeah, the more hair loss that's permanent that occurs. The longer you wait or have to wait to get an accurate diagnosis means the more severe hair loss you're going to have and the potential for your hair not to grow back. Okay. So, for example, I have CCCA. And I did wait too long, but if I was a person that would have gone to the dermatologist as soon as I noticed my hair loss, I probably could have saved a lot of my hair. But since I waited so long, so waiting that 3 to 4 years, as I mentioned, that the study shows, means that my hair kept coming out and that scar started forming, meaning permanent hair loss. So that is a big deal because that means that shows the importance of people going to the doctor earlier, going to the dermatologist earlier so that they can start to figure out what's going on with you to prevent permanent hair loss. Okay, so on the lines of dermatologist, you want to make sure you're looking for a dermatologist that specializes in hair loss. You can't just go to any dermatologist. And I did not know this either, but I learned there are many dermatologists specialize in skin, the care of skin and treatment of skin, right? Your scalp is skin. However, there's other intricacies involved when it comes to your scalp and hair loss. So whenever you are looking for a dermatologist, make sure you search for a dermatologist that specializes in hair loss because that makes a world of difference as far as the knowledge they have and the experience they have had with treating your hair loss so that you can potentially save majority or if not, all of your hair that you still have remaining. Now, some no-nos that I learned about that we should not do, and I had no clue because I did do some of these things now I know, but I mean, again, I don't have hair, so it doesn't matter. But when I had hair, if I would have known, I wouldn't have done some of these things. Certain hairstyles you should not wear. Now, we think we are doing protective styles, and this is for my African American women. We think we're doing protective styles and not bothering our hair so that our hair can grow and just leaving it alone. However, those protective styles aren't necessarily protective when you have scarring alopecia. They said crochet braids or crochet hairstyles is a no-no. That's something I did to camouflage my hair loss. And my hair did continue to come out, but they said that's a no-no because you're putting extra weight on your hair and your scalp, which is steady making it come out. So that is a no-no. Any type of quick weaves or weaves, any of that, no. Because if you're getting a regular weave, you may get your hair braided too tight. And when they sew it in, it's pulling on your hair, making you have further hair loss. Quick weaves, you may have a reaction and you cannot get to your scalp. Your scalp isn't getting any oxygen. And therefore, there's bacteria that's developing under, your hair that's molded down. If you don't know what a quick weave is, you can go look it up. But it's basically when your hair is molded down with a hard solution and they take the weave and they glue it on top of your hair. So if you are experiencing any type of hair loss, don't do those hairstyles. Also, watch out for your braids, making sure they're not too tight. Even the wigs. Dermatologists don't want you to run and grab a wig immediately because if you are taking proper care of your hair, making sure you're wearing wig caps and doing different things to protect your edges, those wigs can take your edges out as well. Did not know that either. But if you're wearing something constantly along your hairline and you're not protecting your hairline, it can cause you to have traction alopecia or, basically wear your hair thin and causing hair loss around the edges of your hair. So they prefer you not to run and grab a wig, okay? Which goes back to early detection. Noticing if you have that hair loss, go to the doctor immediately before you even have to go grab that wig, okay? I know it's not easy. I know we have things to do. We have to go to work. We have to do social events. We have lives. And we need to look presentable. We want to look good when we step out the door. However, if you want to maintain your hair that's already coming out, You just can't do certain things if you want to really save your hair. Now, again, these are things I wish I would have known, but now I know and I can pass that information on to you guys. Okay, last thing I think I want to talk about is products. They mentioned hair care products and things you should not use or stay away from. One of those is fragrance-free hair care products and skin products. This goes for both, but they do not want you to use products that have a fragrance in it because it can cause a reaction or cause hair loss. Whatever that ingredient is that's causing that fragrance can, I guess, cause hair loss. So stay away from fragrances when it comes to hair and skin products. Or another thing dermatologists want you to do is stay away from ingredients that release formaldehyde. Yes, there are ingredients in hair care products and beauty products that will release formaldehyde. Here I'm gonna put a list over here, hopefully, or over here, maybe it'll be somewhere on the screen of the list of ingredients where you should not, or that you should look for that will release formaldehyde. Now, if you are listening to this, I will put those that list in the show notes or the description, so you can just go down there and take a look at it. But yeah, those are some key things I want to make sure I point out to you. Now, there is a great resource that they gave me, or gave us, I should say, not just me, in regards to finding information about dermatologists that specialize in hair loss and different products you should use and natural products and different things like that. All right, so the name of that website is Docs for Hair. So Docs number 4 Hair. If you go there, they have some resources and things available for you to take a look at if you want more information in regards to things that can help with your hair loss or finding a dermatologist that specializes in hair loss in your area. So go ahead, you can check that out. Also, you can check out the Scarring Alopecia Foundation's website. They have a lot of information, of course, around scarring alopecia, articles around those codes I was telling you about for the medical codes, just different treatment options. They have a wealth of information on that website. But if you don't have scarring alopecia, you have a different form of alopecia. There are a lot of advocacy groups out here, and many of them have resources and information on their websites that you can go check out. Okay. Well, that is what I wanted to bring to you in regards to the Scarring Alopecia Foundation's conference and the information that I felt like was really important. I do want to say as well that I was a person that didn't think I needed to go to a conference like that. I went, as a speaker, and I attended all of the sessions, just to get information and learn because I was there. But while being there, I realized that, that was something I did need. That was a lot of information, and not just the information part of it. I think it goes back to that community and just being in a room with other people who have experienced the same thing I've experienced. People who can relate to, what I've been through, and we can relate to each other. We can actually sit down and talk to each other and have real conversations. We can talk to each other about treatments and different things that have gone on. They can ask questions if, did this work for you? Did this not work for you? This is what the dermatologist is telling me. So just like having those conversations that you can't normally have with other people unless you're in a support group. But this was in person and, actually sitting down, having dinner. We had a line dancing lesson in one of the parts of the conference, just really having a good time and enjoying the company of others. That was the benefit. So if you have the opportunity to go to any of these conferences or any conference that may even uplift you, as far as your hair loss. There's a lot of different ones now coming about that support you, and celebrate you as a person with hair loss, especially a woman with hair loss. They're not looking at it as a negative situation. They are celebrating and uplifting themselves. One is called BaldyCon, and that's in Atlanta. It's coming up, I believe, in September this year. So, maybe go check that out if that's something you feel like you really need. There are people out here doing retreats. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So for people with, or women in particular, with hair loss. So make sure you go out there and connect with some of that stuff and participate in it if you can, because I believe that would help you. Okay. Now, I think that's all I have for you today. You know me, if you've been listening or watching the show, hey, if you have any emotional or mental challenges in regards to your hair loss, if you're feeling extremely insecure, this is affecting your personality, you are having an identity crisis, and you are really struggling, then I'm the person who can help you, okay? Now, if you want to just reach out and talk to me, you can book a call. You can book a consultation call through my website. That website is www.limitlessmindsetcoach.com. Feel free to just book a discovery call or a consultation call, and we can just hop on and let me know what's happening, and I can let you know how I can support you, okay? All right, well, that's all I have for you guys today. So it's a nice spring day. So I'm going to try to get out and enjoy it as much as I can, all right? All right, so that's all I have for you from my heart to yours. Bye. Are you a woman struggling with hair loss, feeling unattractive and insecure? At Limitless Mindset Coaching, we understand the emotional toll that hair loss can take. In just 90 days, we help you transform from feeling lost and embarrassed to radiating with confidence and joy. Imagine building your self esteem, discovering the perfect camouflage technique to cover up your hair loss, and receiving tips and tricks that can help you with your hair loss and embrace the new you while connecting with a supportive community of women just like you. Say goodbye to those negative emotions and hello to a positive mindset. Picture vibrant new relationships, walking through the room with your head held high, participating in social events and activities again, and living a life filled with happiness. Are you ready to take that first step? Well, visit www.limitlessmindsetcoach.com or click the link in the description today, and let's embark on this empowering journey together.
Thank you for watching the Bougie Body Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe